So open your eyes. If you followed me through that, your mouth should be watering. Now, I know we just had muffin cakes for breakfast, but your mouth should be watering. There's no lemon. But why is our mind and body responding as if there is? Because the subconscious mind has absolutely no other job but to do what you command it to do. As you have a vision of what it is you're going to do in your day, your mind will take every single thing, go back to the database, pull up every example of when you went out the day before and got a million no's or couldn't understand how to do something. It'll pull up all that evidence. It'll pull every single thing up that you've done. So, if we can think our way into success, how do we do it? How do we do it when you've got a pattern of your thinking? And it all starts with you. So let me give you an example of a pattern that I had. Again, I told you I was the youngest of 7. I grew up, and that stuff rolls downhill. Well, it landed at the youngest, which was me. So my sister doing the best she could with growing up, because growing up can be an interesting challenge, an opportunity for growth, right? So my sister continued to tell me I was fat, dumb, and stupid. I know. You can say, aw. That was one of the more empowering stories of my family. Anybody else grow up in a complicated family? I knew it wasn't just me. So my sister used to tell me continually, that I was fat, dumb, and stupid. So I started to develop what's called a pattern in my mind, that I wasn't the brightest kid. So it'd come time for spelling bee, and I'd stand up very proud and ready to go, and they'd ask me to spell just about anything. And my pattern said I'm not the smart kid, and I was the first to sit down. And then time would go on, and I'd have to take a test, and I'd be test anxiety. I'd be like, I'm not smart enough to do this. And then continued on further, and I told you I was in real estate. So West USA, everybody know that company? I was working for First American Title as a rep for them, and I was at an office meeting. And at this office meeting, they were doing a training. And the guy was up front, and he was doing a memory training. You guys, that joke is normally just for me, because I crack myself up when I say that. So he's doing a memory seminar, and he says, he yells out, he says, give me an animal that starts with an A. And I said, orangutan. And the room did exactly that. And I thought, what are they laughing at? And the guy next to me, the owner, said, it's not an A. I said, yes, it is. And he goes, no, it's not. That's an O. And I said, it's not an orangutan. It's an orangutan. And he goes, don't you know how to spell orangutan? And I thought, well, apparently not. But that was a pattern in my mind. I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated because I proved that I wasn't that smart. I was absolutely destroyed. But that's what we continue to carry forward with ourselves is, how do we see ourselves? What were you told? What were you told, and what did you believe about yourself? We inherit paradigms. My mother grew up on welfare. My dad thought that they had $0 in the account, so they continued to treat life like that. We grew up in the country club, but we were the poorest mindset in the country club. So how does this relate to what you do every day? Do you, by a show of hands, who has all the business that they could absolutely stand? Now, the lights are bright, but I don't see a single hand up. So what that tells me is that there's something inside of you. You heard the saying, right? You've heard the saying, be what you want, or, be more of what you want to have more of in the world. So if you want more love, be more love. You want more happy, be happy. But how do you be happy when you've got not enough here? So it's thinking beyond the conditions, beyond the economic conditions. I'll tell you, when real estate took a dive, my real estate business stayed soaring. And I started to look around and I thought, why am I doing so great and these other people aren't? And then I started going on tours, and I'm like, I should be worried about that? I should only be working with the Canadian buyers coming in? I should only. Guess what happened to my business? Tanked. How many of you have a thought that this is hard? And don't raise your hand, because if you're sitting with your boss, they're like, what do you mean? That's a bad attitude. That's not, I don't like you thinking that way. It's really about how do you think and how do you take what you do to the next level of your success, adding another zero onto the bottom line of your revenue or your funding. What does it look like when your thoughts get in the way? I jotted down a couple of quotes, and this is Abraham Lincoln. Most folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. So one of the secrets on getting yourself to happy, what is happy? They're like, happy, Jane, you don't understand our industry. How do I be happy when I'm struggling to get people to understand what we have to offer? How do you do that when your clientele can be invisible? Right? You don't always know the end user and when they're coming in. How do you do that? So one trick is to trick the subconscious mind. Remember, there was no lemon. I'm going to go back to that example. Do not, under any circumstances, when I say this, do not picture the Statue of Liberty. No, don't. Don't do it. Don't see Later Liberty standing in the bed. Do not see that. Can you not help but see that? The mind has an automatic, unconscious response. So what if, before your feet hit the floor every single day, you decided what your day was going to look like? That's a writer-downer. Before I hit the floor every day, sometimes it takes me a half hour to get out of bed because I refuse to think anything but what my day is going to look like. Can you generate sales that way? Can you close deals that way? Can you get people more heads in beds? Can you get more butts in seats? Can I say that on this station? What do you do when you're working against the neighbor who seems to do a little remodel? If I did a little remodel on my little home, $200,000, you guys just did that here, right? How do you compete against that? So before your feet hit the floor, determine what your day is going to look like. Determine what direction it's going to go. Are you going to be a practicing negativist, or are you going to be successful at everything you do? So I have a formula that I use that's called STOP. The formula called STOP. So when you get a negative thought going, and you're not feeling all that happy, and the challenges continue to come at you in the economy, what you want to do is stop. The S is state your preference. And I'm going to use this, if you don't have enough heads in beds, and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. This is frustrating. I've gone everywhere. I've done everything. And you're trying every technique that you have been taught and every tool, and there's not enough. You're going to stop, and you're going to state the preference. What I would prefer is to have to bring out cots in the lobby because I have so many people. So you state your preference. The T is trigger curiosity. Because once we have a feeling, the emotion comes behind that feeling, and that makes the subconscious mind like a magnet go out and attract every single thing. You ever been driving and you're in the biggest hurry in the world and you got to hurry, hurry, hurry? And why does every slow person get in front of you? You're like, well, this never happens. The subconscious mind, it's a freaky thing. I don't know how it happens, but it's like a magnet. It'll pull everything like your thoughts to you. You run into cranky people, you run into slow people, you run into all these things. So you want to state your preference, trigger your curiosity. What would it be like if I really did have an overflow? I would love to refer it to our partners down the street. That would be awesome. So state your preference, trigger the curiosity, open to imagination. If that did happen, what would it be and feel like? What would it be and feel like? The P is put it into action. Your feet have got to be moving in order to get the results. That makes sense, right? You've got to change your thinking. We all do. Because we're all a habit of our last thought, of our last success, of our last failure. Anybody in this room besides me fail at one point or another, right? I saw the low wave over there. It's like, I did, Jane. Five times. We all have that. We've got to change the thought pattern that is related to that and our relationship with that, and that's the stop. So I'm going to tell you, I'll finish with a story. So the first secret is, before you get up in the morning, before you touch that floor, change your day. Set your day. Second secret is to stop. The third secret I like to tell in a story. And with that, everybody has, I've been doing sales 30 years, and I've been doing speaking 25 years. I left you some sales tips. So those are on your seat. The other thing I left you was, I love to speak, and I love to help people be successful. And there's 3 speeches that I give. One that I write before I get here, this one that I present to you, and then I'll tell you the best one of all is when I walk out and I drive home. Oh, you guys should hear that speech. It's killer. It is so good. It'll just change your life. So do you ever go to a workshop or an event like this and they do a drawing, right? And they pick the winner and you're like, I never win. You're like, I hate drawings. Or you're the winner and you're like, I win every time. And then everybody hates you anyway. Here's my philosophy. I love everybody to be a winner. So the second box on here, you all win the free gift, which I am going to record the speech when I leave here. I'm going to send it all to you. So you fill this out. And it says the first one is if you want a success session. I have a very limited time in my schedule. First 15 people that bum rush me after the meeting, I will give a complimentary coaching session. So I'm going to finish the last tip with a story. I grew up in Chicago. I went to NIU. Anybody from Midwest, right? And when it snows, it's probably the drifts are about as high as the ceiling. I'm driving home, and my car slides right into the ditch. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. Like, you know, you get out, you're going back and forth, and the car is not going. I'm digging deeper. So I thought, all right, that's it. I see a farmhouse. I truck my way up through the snow to the farmhouse. I go up, I knock on the door. An old farmer comes to the door, and I said, listen, I have got to get home for the holidays. My car is stuck in the snow. Any way you can help me? He goes, little missy, have you looked outside how wide it is? There is not a car that I can get or a truck I can get out of these snow drifts. But I do have a blind horse named Misty. I'll try to tie her up, see if she can get you out of that ditch. And I said, thank you. That would help me so much because I really cannot get out. So he brings the horse out, takes Misty, hooks Misty on up to my car, to the bumper, and he cracks a whip in the air and he says, pull, Midnight, pull. And I thought, Midnight? I get the craziest farmer out here in farmland. I waited a minute, and he cracked that whip again, and he said, pull, Thunder, pull. I thought, that turkey's going to get cold. I'm not making it home. So he cracks the whip in the air again, and he says, pull, Misty, pull. Misty, pull that car right out of the ditch. And I said, Mr. Farmer Man, that was Misty. You say Thunder, Midnight, all. You knew it was Misty, right?